Hello and welcome to the show. It's available on Google, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so you can find it easily. And remember to subscribe for free when you're done, and give me a 5-star review because so far nobody has given me a 4-star review yet. Today on the podcast, we're going to have an audience question, and there's going to be a few more of those coming up because we have quite the backlog. Yeah, so I've been slacking off on producing episodes recently. That's because there's been a lot going on the home front and on the business front. I've done quite a few more projects with the British Council, but that has been media related. But anyway, since we usually get up to really interesting stuff on a much more national or macroeconomic front, there's always good stuff to talk about whenever I come back from one of those events. So I'm going to make some podcast episodes about that in the future, especially for those topics that can be tied directly into the kind of things that we talk about over here, business, entrepreneurship, and those sorts of things. And of course, marketing. So today, audience question is from Tapota Benedict. Sorry if I'm murdering your name, Tapota. And the question is, okay, well, it was quite lengthy, but the summary is to figure out the difference between entrepreneurship and capitalism. Now, I know that this kind of question sounds rather odd on a podcast like mine, where we talk about personal selling, sales, marketing, business development, those sorts of things. But then again, at live events and online events, stuff like that, these are some of the ancillary stuff that come up in discussions. So it's not that out of place. So anyway, let's head straight into the answer. So capitalism. Okay, of course, like lots of things that we talk about over here on the podcast, when it comes to defining, you guys know that I'm really reticent to give definitions because it doesn't matter which definition you give, it's going to be incomplete, it's going to fail to capture one element, and if you define things one way, you're going to offend people who are on the other end of the spectrum. So capitalism is hard to define, but there's one thing that all these definitions have in common, and that is that capitalism encompasses this idea of free market enterprise, the movement of market forces, demand and supply, things like that. Basically, the idea that I, my wife, my kids, you, members of your family, whoever, should be able to come up with business ideas, business structures, all kinds of stuff. So long as, of course, you fall within the ambit of the law. You're not doing anything unethical. You're not doing anything that is dangerous to human liberty, human health, things of that nature. So that is essentially what free capitalism is. When you hear capitalism, just think free market enterprise. So if you look at things from that angle, then yes, we'll be able to agree that what we have in Nigeria is capitalism. You have capitalism in America, you have it in the UK, you have it in Brazil, you have it in wherever. Even though if we decide to sit down and come up with an academically precise definition, we're going to be at odds, and we'll find it difficult to define exactly where the boundaries of capitalism lie. So that's what it is. When you hear capitalism, just think free market enterprise. Now, there is a span of the forms of capitalism that is approached all over the world, whether you're thinking Nigeria, USA, UK, Brazil, Egypt. This is a span. So, free market enterprise is not exercised exactly the same way across all the borders of the world. Now, what you have in Nigeria, well, at least back when I was in primary school, our good teachers, what they taught us that what we have here is a laissez-faire kind of capitalist system. So what that means is you can come and start whatever company you want. You can come and start an internet providing company. You can come and start some tech-enabled stuff, maybe like Uber and all that stuff. Or you can decide to run your wedding photography business. You can start your, let's say you're trying to do value add in the agriculture space. So maybe you process cassava. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. But there is a limited form of government intervention. So government is going to come once in a while to say, yes, technically you can do that, but because of the policy concerns of the Nigerian government, no, you can't do this. Or because of this policy concern, or because of that concern or that concern, the government is going to say you can do this, you can't do that. And then, of course, the other government limitations, taxations, other regulations that you have to abide by. So it's free. You can do what you want, but it's not totally free because at the end of the day, the government is going to be able to say, limit the extent to which you can perform some business activities freely. So that is why some people, technically speaking, will say that Nigeria and the United States of America have a laissez-faire capitalist system. But they're not going to say that the United Kingdom has a laissez-faire capitalist system. That's because the United Kingdom also, well, they want people to do their business, but then they're also concerned about the welfare state to make sure that those who are less fortunate are taken care of. So they have what some people might call socialist policies. I don't agree to that term anyway, but let me just use it. Some people will call their policies regarding national health care and things like that as socialist. So some people won't say that United Kingdom has laissez-faire capitalist systems. They will be called, what's it called again? Is it socialist, capitalist? I can't remember. Anyway, it's been a long time. I've been out of school for a while, but you get the point. Capitalism, free market enterprise, it operates in different countries. So in different ways in different countries. So what you see in Nigeria will have a different flavor from what you see in America, different from Egypt, different from Brazil, different from China, different from, anyway, you get the gist. On a theoretical note, is it possible that there will ever be a system where it is unrestricted freedom, as in come in and do whatever you want? There's some people who argue that that should be possible. I don't think that's a common sense approach. But anyway, that is for much more theoretical things when we're sitting down in our classrooms and we're in our economics classes and things of that nature. So that is what capitalism is, free market enterprise. Now, what is entrepreneurship? Similar to what I just said, hard to define. People are going to quarrel whichever way that you define it. But in the past on the podcast, I have said that no matter what definitions you choose, you will find that entrepreneurship seems to be built around the idea of problem solving or value add when it comes to specific market niches. So entrepreneurs are people who are trying to solve problems, essentially trying to do things that haven't been done before so that they can add value to the market system. So that's the reason why Zuckerberg, who else? Zuckerberg and what's that Amazon guy? The bald guy. What's his name? Bezos, and before them, the English dude with the gray hair, the long gray hair. What's his name? The Virgin guy. Branson, yeah, the Branson fellow, yeah. So those are why those people would earn the label of entrepreneurs and not just businessmen. That's because they come in, they think that, okay, there's a gap in the market, there's a specific problem that we need to solve. Let's come up with smart, innovative ways of solving these problems. And so that's why these boys and also these girls are defined, have the moniker entrepreneurs attached to it. So, in a nutshell, that's what entrepreneurship is. Problem solving, value add, specific market problems, market niches, and those sorts of things. Now, entrepreneurship and capitalism, are they different? Not really, because entrepreneurship is one of the tools of free market enterprise. So you might say that capitalism is the mom or the dad, and entrepreneurship is one of the babies. Now, let's flesh that out a little bit with a something that is much more context specific, so you can see the difference between entrepreneurs and other people in the business space. Now, at the top of the episode, I mentioned doing some work with the British Council, and back when I started off with them, doing work with them, that's media-related work with them, there was, I think, the business incubation session. Yes, they used to have business incubation sessions. I don't know if they run anymore. And there was a lady who was there in one of the Abuja events who had this idea for a akara kiosk in Abuja. So for those of you who are foreigners listening to the show, akara is a local, what do I call it? Should I call it fast food or snack? It's like a fast food snack. Some people eat it for breakfast. You take beans, you grind it into a paste, and then you fry that, and then you have akara. Now, my French teacher used to call akara bean cakes, and I think that's ridiculous because, well, I just think it's ridiculous. We can't call akara bean cakes. But yeah, there are those Nigerians who call akara bean cakes. So hopefully you guys have gotten the idea. Now, this lady thought that you could build a business out of it by, instead of hawking akara by the roadside, which is typically how we buy it. You have a woman sitting by the roadside. She has a pan. It's in the open air. The oil is there. It's a wood fire, and then she makes it there. You come, you buy your akara, and then you leave. But this lady thought that you could elevate the local experience, the local eating experience, the local dining experience around akara by introducing that millennial touch. Well, of course, 10 years ago, we didn't call them millennials. What were we called back then? And I can't remember too many terms. So she had this idea I thought was really, really fancy. I didn't think it would work. But anyway, it's been a decade, and apparently the business is up and running. I don't know how much funding she was able to get at the time, or what support she got from the British Council and other NGOs or financiers, investors, things like that. But the thing is up and running, and it's working. My stepsister went by the place, and she thinks it's really fabulous, and so yeah, it works. So you take akara, and instead of just giving the local roadside dining experience where you buy the akara, you put it in a newspaper or a piece of paper, but rather you pair akara with finger foods. You mix it with different kinds of salads or shrimps or blah blah blah. All that fancy stuff. Make it a really nice elevated dining experience. She's been able to open up the market. Of course, bricklayers and those sorts of people are not going to be found in that kind of place, but she's been able to open up the dining experience around akara, and so she's been able to elevate the discourse around what most people would think is a common, trite, maybe even a plebeian food. Because before her, I'm sure that there were some folks, maybe the upper classes, the richer folks, would have been like, me eating akara? No, that's for local people. It's for the plebeians. It's for the poor folk. It's for the blah blah blah. We have more refined palates, so we only eat I don't know, whatever it is that fancy rich people eat in Nigeria. So yeah, so that's an example of entrepreneurship. The market already exists. What's the problem? The problem is that akara is eaten in a very boring, unattractive way. You want to get people to up their protein intake. And so you find ways of elevating the dining experience. You increase, you expand the menu. You pair akara with different things. You find other ways for which beans can be eaten. You change the environment. You have mobile kiosks, and then you have smoothies and stuff available. You also have board games available. And if you think this sounds really fancy and interesting, for those of you who are Nigerian listeners or maybe Ghanaian listeners, because I think Ghanaians have their own version of akara. So yeah, it works. It's here. It's in Abuja City. Whenever you're passing through, if you hit me up on LinkedIn, I'll get the details from my half sister, and then I'll let you guys know what's up, so you can go and take part in all the akara goodness. So yes, it can be done. So that is regarded as entrepreneurship. You call that lady an entrepreneur. But the lady who sits by the roadside with the pan and with the firewood, frying their akara, they're putting it in the newspaper and stuff like that, you don't call that lady an entrepreneur. So that's a difference. To get a sense of what entrepreneurship is, and the local flavor of entrepreneurship as applied in this part of the world. Of course, we have our fancier entrepreneurship activities or businesses, like people who are trying to solve payment problems, people who are trying to solve the problems of what's that word? People who make money in the UK or in America and then try to send money back down to Nigeria. Currently, that's a problem because of currency restrictions, controls, and things like that. Also, for people here in Nigeria who are trying to pay the school fees for children in America or the UK, there are those sorts of problems. So people are always trying to solve those problems. There's always an announcement every year that this bunch of boys and girls have come together. They have formed this app and it's going to solve the payment problem and stuff like that. So yes, we also have those highfalutin ideas around entrepreneurship over here. But I guess basically what I'm just trying to say is that it spans the whole gamut. So don't just say because I gave akara as an example that that's the level of Nigerian entrepreneurship or enterprise. It's a whole lot more. It goes beyond that. So the difference between capitalism and entrepreneurship, there's no difference really. The there's no difference really. It's just a matter of genus. So capitalism is the mom, entrepreneurship are the babies, and entrepreneurship can take different forms. Free market enterprise can take different forms. So that's all for today, folks. We're past the 15-minute mark, so let me just bring it to a close here. We've been doing too many 30-minute episodes, so I want to be mindful of your time. So if you like what you've heard on the podcast and you have some more questions that you'd like to shoot to me, that's not a problem. You can connect with me on the socials, especially on LinkedIn, where I spend most of my time. My name is Tavishima Ayede. Don't worry about the spelling. You can confirm that from the website where you're listening to this episode, or from the podcasting app where you're currently listening to my voice. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode. We will be sorting another audience question, and it's if I remember correctly, I think it's the second part of Tapota Benedict's question. Yeah, Tapota Benedict's question. Yeah, we'll be doing the second part of the question. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.